What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner. No, 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers. That is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care, and being part of that movement, we have reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Good morning on July 21st on the Morning Vibe. We have a three-headed Morning Vibe this morning with with two incredible individuals. My co-host, when he isn't doing everything else except slaying the world, Ryan Knight, and a mentor and a friend, Ray McMillan. Good morning, gentlemen.
Yeah, good day, Dr. Vibe. It is a pleasure to have you on with us, Mr. McMillan. Good to see you.
He's got to unmute himself, though. He's got to unmute himself, and then we can get him full.
Yes.
Yeah, tick-tock.
And while
there we go. He's got it. There we go.
Make sure that people remember who I am. My name is Ryan Knight, one of the co-founders of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network, which Ray is actually one of our co-founders as well. We work with entrepreneurs of African and Caribbean heritage, really to figure out what stage they're in, and then help them create a strategy to grow their companies. And we do that with our microloan program and also our social enterprise that does marketing and sales. And our microloan is getting an injection of capital. So we are looking to support up to 200 businesses with $10,000 loans over the next 12 months. So definitely go to our website, acbncanada.com, and fill out our business needs assessment so we can figure out what your business needs and then help you get some dollars to get you to the next level. But I'll pass it over to Ray.
Well, Ray, how are you doing, Ray? What's going on in your world?
Good morning, folks. I am doing very well. I'm lagging this morning. I'm dealing with the Florida heat. So the weekend in Florida is fun, but fun and sun, and it's around 40 degrees probably on average. So if you're outdoors for a few hours, then it can drain a bit of your energy.
Ooh, yeah, it's like that humid type heat.
Listen, man, I don't know how to define it. It's just heat. I don't know how you want to define it. It's just heat. You know what I mean? But, it's not going to take energy out of you. But congrats, Ryan and ACBN. It's always a pleasure to hear you mention the African Business Network. When we first started that journey, we never knew where we were, what our destination was. And we haven't gotten there as yet. You haven't gotten there as yet. I'm no longer an active part of that train, but it's really great to see what ACBN has morphed into and the positive impact it has had on entrepreneurs and just people in general.
Right.
And it shows the power of effective collaboration.
Yes.
It's something we have to strive to do better as African and Caribbean people living in Toronto, you know what I mean? But Dr. Vibe, thanks for having me here this morning, man.
Hey, my pleasure, my honor. Because when we were having a conversation a little while back, he said, so what's going on? I said, well, I'm doing this series, and I have this person on. And Ray goes, I know her.
Nice.
I know her. And then you told me about the relationship. I said, so Ray, would you like to join? He said, sure. And I said, so I am really excited about this conversation coming up that we're doing today. But other than that, gentlemen, I'd like to do this to everybody. What's a win that you've recently had? It can be big, it can be small. What is a win that you've recently had?
Oh boy, recently. There's a win that I feel we're working on. And Ray, I talked to you for some advice about this project in Woodstock. So ACBN inching into the housing realm. So the official announcement is actually going to happen at our AGM, which is August, I think, 7th. So the show after the 7th, we will officially announce our new project. But yeah, pretty excited about that.
Okay, well, you know what's interesting about that? My brother lives in Woodstock.
Okay, nice.
He's been in Woodstock for a good 15 plus years.
Oh wow. On our booking system, Woodstock was actually our head address or main address for detailing nights because we put it as Woodstock so that I knew where people were booking from. They'd have to change. It was but Woodstock was been there for like 15 years just as our head office. So we had like a virtual address there.
Yeah, and their marketplace for housing has grown like
Oh,
wildfire.
oh wow, gotcha,
Oh
gotcha.
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. If you want, I'll certainly get you in contact with him. He can tell you how much the housing market just exploded
Wow.
in the
And
last.
also, we want to do some research on like what supports for seniors are there and like what type of housing. So I'd love to chat with him.
100%. Yeah, 100%, 100%. Ray, what's a win that you've recently had?
Um, yeah, I'm working on a lot of different things. I mean, you know, I spoke to you about some of them, and you've been involved in a few of the conversations. I mean,
Yes.
about 10 years ago, my focus was to go global with what we do, shift beyond the GTA into the Caribbean, parts of South America, and into possibly West Africa. So in the last, after the last 6 months to the last few days, um, a lot of that has been materializing very, very rapidly. I
Right.
am now an active member of the Guyana Association of Real Estate Professionals, which is called GARA. I'm going to be in their intermediary board and be, part of streamlining the processing in Guyana, and probably more things. And then more recently, we had a conversation with someone you know very well about exploring opportunities in West Africa, parts of West Africa, in the real estate space.
Nice.
And then, I'm still doing stuff in Jamaica. I've got, an active client who's in a very large project in Jamaica, and we are consulting on that project. So, I mean, when I started out this journey back in the 90s, I had no idea what how it would unfold for me. But I think the biggest win for me is having my son run the Oxford Saga,
Yeah.
Right, right.
and to watch him grow and evolve every single day. You know what I mean? So, and working with him and Andrew on our monthly conversations.
Mhm.
Which you're going to be our next co-host coming up, Dr. Vibe. We need you to co-host a special conversation for us. Not
No,
co-host, host, actually, because you're going to run the show and we just going to be the people in,
nice, nice. That's so
Oh
good.
gosh. Don't put too much pressure on me now. Please.
there's no pressure, man. I look at your email signature, man. I'm thinking, man, this guy is well accomplished and he's so humble. So I know you're very, very capable. So
Yeah.
I can think
Well,
of a better person. I mean, you know me, you know my son, you know Andrew.
yep.
So I mean, you're the best person to have to basically have that conversation with us. You know what I mean? But yeah, but I mean, to me, the wins are not just about one thing. It's
Mhm.
about continuously striving to be the best version of yourself, while helping folks along the way. I mean, if you're winning by yourself, that's no fun. I
No.
want everybody to come along for the ride. You know what I mean? So, and I think I always told Ryan he's one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Nice and good that he has. But observing him function, and you too yourself, Dr. Vibe, it has taught me quite a lot dealing with you guys over the last several years to really
Wow.
bring people into the conversation. Not everybody, but those who are deserving,
Yep.
and share the journey with them.
Right.
Wow.
But I was curious because we mentioned like when we started ACBN, we didn't know where it could go. When you started your brokerage, you didn't know where it could go. But when did you realize that you could shift to now global like global initiatives and global projects? Was there like a experience that happened where you're like, whoa, the world is bigger than just the GTA?
Actually, so for those who don't know, I went to school in Guyana. My mother's Guyanese.
Mm.
So a lot of my friends, I have a global friend group. My Guyanese live all over the world. I mean, you may never know because we keep stuff in a very, very low profile. So in the housing crisis in 2008, I had friends, a lot of friends living in the US. And most of my calls about how to navigate the real estate market came from my friends in America. No, I don't live in America. I
Right.
live in Toronto. But I had enough knowledge, and enough foresight to guide them. And about 3 months ago, one of my colleagues who wanted to sell his home in Florida back in 2009
Mm.
called me and told me thanks. But had he sold that home, he'd never bought another house again.
Ooh.
Right? Because hard, back into the market in your 40s,
Right.
when you come out of a basic crisis. So he didn't sell at home on my advice. It was a messy situation. They were upside down by about probably 50 or 60 grand plus other debt. But I said, right now, because at the end of the day, you got to pay to live somewhere.
Yep.
When I pay the bank, then pay a landlord. And that made sense to him right away. He was an accountant, actually. It made sense to me immediately. And at that point, I realized that, okay, I can do this globally. And then I was always advising clients. My mom lived in Jamaica for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
I traveled back and forth to the island frequently. So I had a very good sense of the geography of Jamaica, right?
Gotcha.
And most Jamaicans don't know Jamaica. No offense to you, Ryan, but you guys don't know the island.
Right.
You just know the one place you come from.
Right, yes.
So, I mean, I was studying, I'm a geography major. That's why I did at university, geography and economics. So I'll dissect the local economy, dissect the population growth, dissect a lot of stuff. And I can better advise clients on where and what to buy in Jamaica. And this went back to probably around the mid-2000s. And most of my clients thought I was Jamaican.
Right.
I wasn't. They were totally shocked because I knew the island better than them. And, I lived in St. Lucia, so I had a very good knowledge of St. Lucia. I never really monetized it. I had a Barbadian business partner, so we started doing condo financing in Barbados in the 2000s. And my dad is Grenadian, so I go to the island very frequently. My mom lives there. Going back to Guyana. So it just sort of fell into place. But when it really all fell into place is when my son walked into my office in 2013. Because that's when I knew I had the blueprint to now not be a mortgage broker anymore.
Oh.
Because that, while it was a great profession and served me well financially, it is limited to what I do. Because once you're licensed by a state or provincial body, you have to follow certain guidelines. You can't have certain conversations.
Gotcha.
Well, once I relinquish my license, I can talk about anything now. Right? So that was where it all changed for me. He's licensed. So I tell people all the time, I am not a licensed mortgage broker.
Right.
I haven't done a mortgage transaction since 2018.
Hey, oh, wow.
Business in those last 7 years. I mean, I've done construction projects in Guyana. I've done all sorts of stuff, which I couldn't have done. I mean, I could have done them, but I couldn't promote them.
Gotcha.
I had to keep that'd be a well-kept secret. So, I mean, 2008 was probably the pivotal point when I realized that I had my pulse on things global, real estate. And then 2013, 14, when my son came into the office, then I realized, okay, yeah, this is what I was praying for. That I needed I need one of my offspring to become part of the conversation. And it's McMillan Group, right? I never called the company a mortgage brokerage company because for me it was okay if I want to get into fashion design or I want to get into hotel management or my daughter went to York to do law. You want to open a law practice, then McMillan Group can cover every single aspect of it, but the McMillan mortgage team is very, very limited. So I had no interest in limiting myself on what I do by putting mortgage and real estate behind what I do. I mean, people know me for mortgage and real estate, but I mean, I do a whole lot of other things.
Makes sense. Gotcha.
Okay, we got to cut because Ray could go on forever. He's had so much experience. But watch the replays of Ray on the platform. You'll get to know him better. We are going to go to a 30-second break, and then we're going to bring up our friend. Desiree she's smiling in the green room. She's excited. She won't be on the platform. So we'll be back in 30 seconds. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here. These are two ladies. They're not all over the place. They're forward and they're straight shooters.
I got to stand in front.
No wonder people don't understand what the Democrats have been doing. That man lied 36,000 times, and we know this because you all counted it.
This is part of the story that a lot of news outlets are not talking about. All right, Primetime Saturday with Aisha and Lala, Saturday afternoons, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. And the last 3 or 4 episodes, they're always good, but they've gone to a whole other level on
Yes.
the last few episodes. I mean, wow. So check it out live if you can. Make sure you subscribe. And as I say, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. We're not at 1,860 subscribers yet. I said yet. So if you haven't and you're up to it, subscribe. If you have, tell other people saying, hey, there's a good thing going on here with a bunch of great people. Like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Substack. Join the Morning Vibe Discord group. Email me, dr.vibe at the dr.vibeshow.com. Excuse me, or click on the link there. Advertise your business, product, or service on any of the shows that I'm on. Email me again, dr.vibe at the dr.vibeshow.com. And finally, cannot forget, raised in Florida, but he's a little bit of distance from our friend Dr. Tachi, who runs Indie Soup TV, independent content creators platform with about 28,000 subscribers. And why is that significant? Only 4% of all YouTube channels have over 10,000 subscribers. So check it out. There's a lot of the stuff we do here on that, and I'm a member of the advisory board. All right. We are going to be starting something today on the third Monday of each month for the next 5 months, something called the C.R.A.F.T series. Now, what is the C.R.A.F.T series? The C.R.A.F.T series is designed to provide insight, resources, and real support to anyone invested in healthy aging, I like that term, and strong family connections within Black communities. And who's going to be driving that ship when she's on? Desiree King. So let's have Desiree King up on the stage today. And also, the first episode today is about Through Their Eyes, bringing clarity to the Black aging experience. Yes. Desiree King, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and glad to be here.
Good stuff. How was your weekend?
My weekend was fabulous. Wonderful.
Good. Is it good to be vibing with Ray McMillan?
It is. I was sitting here listening to him speak, learned a lot more about him, and it reflected me back to when I first met him getting my mortgage. So it's looking at the growth in myself, and obviously you've grown exponentially. You're not even transacting anymore. Your son is, who I've met as well. So amazing, and gives me motivation for my brokerage as well, moving into the future.
Good stuff. Before we get into the conversation today, a little bit about your background, and then tell us what C.R.A.F.T stands for.
Yeah. So my background coming into this started when I was 8 years old. As a little girl, watching my mom go to Ryerson when it was a Polytechnic Institute. So we're doing her way throwback back there. She was a single mother, and she would always bring me along to have either the pond babysit me, where I would ice skate in the winter or dangle my feet in the summer, or I'd sit at the back of her class watching her as she studied to become a geriatric nurse. So when I hit the age of 14, she introduced me to candy striping, which is when you wore the red and white costume in the hospitals and delivered books to seniors. And I loved it. And then I went on to get my first job at McDonald's, lasted a month, hated it, and entered the world of being a dietary aide, which also was in the hospitals, local Scarborough hospitals, because I grew up in Scarborough. And I worked as a dietary aide at all three. And what that was, I worked in the geriatric section, so delivering food, meals to seniors, and having conversations with them. From there, my background is computer programming, did corporate for a little bit, left about over 20 years ago because I had a young child, single mother, and I had several businesses, again, tying into working with seniors. For example, I had a concierge company before that. I owned a prescription delivery company, and then I got into real estate. So real estate, my first course, member sitting there, and at the time, Treb had 30,000. Now there's over 90,000, but at the time there was 30,000. And even then I said to myself, who in their right mind gets into a career with 30,000 other people doing the same thing? It made no sense to me. I went home. I'd seen there was something called the Senior Real Estate Specialist designation. And there began my journey when I looked back and tied in all of my life's experiences, my passion, and realized I wanted to be more than a realtor. I wanted to actually serve seniors at a high level in something that I already enjoyed doing and have done. So that's the Coles Notes version of what's brought me here to King's Downsizing and Estate Service Brokerages. And I've been in real estate for about 12 years now. So it's been a journey of a journey of education. I've worked in a home care company. I've worked a lot in the community, worked a lot with seniors, worked a lot with my own family, and that's what's carefully crafted me as a person to be in this position now.
Okay. What does
Um,
C.R.A.F.T stand for?
yes. So CRAFT is an acronym, and it stands for C is for clarity, R is research, A is assess, F is find, and T is time.
Wonderful. All right. Gentlemen, before we get into it, any questions you have for Desiree? Just with all that stuff already. You're quiet.
I just want to make a comment. I mean, having met Desiree almost 2 decades ago, as a nervous first-time home buyer, um, and to see the evolution today and what she has evolved into, um, the world is in good hands, man.
Thank you.
The client solution in very, very good hands. You know what I mean? So, I mean, the focus, we met a few, I think last month last year, so I was in TO for a few days.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, the focus is very important. I mean, building a broker is not easy, but she is now focused on the most interesting part of the population to deal with, particularly if you deal with, Black and African seniors. In order to deal with them, you've got to have a tremendous amount of credibility, very high moral compass, and they have to like and trust you. Like before they trust you. It's not trust and like, it's like and trust. And I mean, I can say because a lot of our clients, Steph is in the same position. Most of our clients 48 to 65 because he's inherited my client base. So they bought when they were in their 40s, and that was 30 plus years ago. They're all now, seniors. So I commend you, Desiree, on your journey and wish you continued success.
Yes, thank you. Thank
That's
you.
fantastic. All right. You wanted to start off with a C. So we're asking you today, through their eyes, bringing clarity to the Black aging experience. So let's go.
Yeah, so let's talk about clarity. And the reason C stands for clarity is because before you can begin to do anything, you need to know where you're going, where you are, and what does the future look like when the what ifs happen. And those conversations in clarity include your family, it includes your spouse, it includes conversations with yourself to determine where you are. And you've got to be real about it. A lot of times seniors can tend to hide if they're living on their own what may be happening. They may be falling silently and not telling family members. And I've had that happen in my own family when I do what I do. It was a secret until we found out. So clarity is at the top of it all, bringing everybody together to have a conversation on what we want and what the future looks like. And again, I like to joke, it's beyond what my mother grew up telling me, which was, don't put me in no nursing home. It's beyond that. We've grown way, way, way. You guys all laughed. I know you heard it. Way, way beyond that conversation.
But do you typically start out with a one-to-one with the parent, or is it more of a family kind of full group conversation?
There is no one size conversation. It's age and stage. It depends on where that individual is and how able they are. Also, if they want their children involved, because a lot of times it's about maintaining independence. So sometimes the children are aware. I have a conversation with the parents. They give me permission to share, or the children are there as well, listening on the sidelines in case there are parts that their parents don't understand. So it's really where they are. If it's someone who now has getting ready, has dementia maybe, and getting ready to go into long-term care or has transferred in, and that's a whole different conversation. I'm speaking to their power of attorney. So it really depends on the age and stage, which is there's no one size fits all conversation, but it always with me begins with a conversation. People will call and say, oh, I have to move my mom. What's my house worth? And I will hit the pause button and say, hold on, let's have a conversation. What's happening? And then we build from there.
Okay. I just want to quickly interrupt. The real Dango said, even before we went on live, he said, oh man, SMH, the Black aging experience so far for my wife and I has been a learning experience and a deep thinking one, and how unprepared we are. It's not always their fault, though. And also, good morning to Frequency Event Promotions. And yes, family, please comment. This is an important conversation. if you're not going through it directly, you probably will have to, whether yourself or your parents
Yeah.
have to go through it. I have a conversation piece for you, Desiree. What does clarity mean to you when it comes to aging and caregiving in Black families?
Clarity means who does what? Where are certain documents located? Do they exist? Yes, you want to stay at home, but what does that look like? What are your health situations, challenges that you're going through? Because there tends to be a lot of secrecy in our community as well around finance and around health. So it's all of these things combined that we need to, like you say, peel back the layers to see what's happening within the family.
Okay. Okay.
Gotcha.
And you know what? A lot of times these things happen suddenly too. So not being prepared, preparation is good, but sometimes life happens. And now you're tossed into this bucket of decisions to be made. I've seen families where their parent has had a fall. They end up in a hospital. Now they're being told they can't be discharged until the home has certain things in it, certain modifications like a raised seat, or their parents no longer able to go up the stairs. So now we're talking about a stair lift with just a straight stair lift can run you at least 10,000. Out of curve, we're going into the 20,000s and up.
Wow.
So it's really being prepared. It's a difficult conversation. And it's again meeting people where they are in that conversation. If they're at the very beginning, that's great. Most people don't really begin at the very beginning proactively, unfortunately. So it's really meeting them where they are and guiding them from that point forward.
So I'm curious how we can be more proactive, because typically we react to things. Like you said, a fall will happen and then you're scrambling to figure out what to do, or the doctor is recommending things to be done at the home. So now if we have parents that are aging, I don't know if there's a right age to start asking, but what would be some good initial questions to ask our parents so that we can understand more about what will happen later, and to prepare ourselves?
Yeah. So the hardest one, or probably the most difficult one, is mom, dad, whomever it is, do you have your power of attorney in place?
Gotcha.
That's important for health and for finances, because those are two different things. Do you have that in place? And again, when you touch on finances, it could be a very sticky topic. I'm sure Ray knows that as well. When we get into the finances, it can be a very sticky topic. So we start there really, because that is the person who, if you're not like, you can use a scenario like saying, mom, dad, you know what? I've recently seen a situation where this person did not have power of attorney. And this is what happened. Do you have yours prepared? Because if you're not able to speak for yourself, I want to be able to represent you properly and honor your wishes. So that could be an opening conversation that you can have. You may see them at home struggling. They're not probably taking care of the house as well. There's blown out light bulbs. There's things not quite up to par of how your parents used to be. That could be a conversation as well, that it could just be too overwhelming. Within my household, my mother-in-law and her twin sister, they realized that they had reached their limit when one day there was a little flood in the basement, and we came in, the aunt was just crying. I can't take this anymore. The house was too much.
Yes.
So
Right.
it's looking into those little things. What is now too much? Taking care of the lawn, the snow. And it's not something that we can blame ourselves for, because we ourselves are sandwiched between our families, our jobs, our kids, sometimes grandkids, sometimes our great grandparents, if we're lucky enough to have them alive as well. So it's really, again, looking at the subtle signs that are there. Even with their driving, that's another tough one. How do we
Oh, yes.
get them to stop driving? Sometimes we see the scuff marks on the car from
Out of my cold, dead hands will you take my license?
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
if I have everyone's permission to interrupt, it's ironic you mentioned that. My dad is going for his driver's test today.
Yes.
Right?
You have to redo a test or something?
89 years old.
Yes.
Wow.
And I'm speaking that he's going to pass, because it's going to be a whole other life if I have to deal. Already take him enough around as it is, but if he's totally cut off, that's a whole different lifestyle change, not only physically but emotionally.
Yes.
For because their mobility is shut
Yeah.
down. Ray, anything you want to? Actually, I'm going to say if
Yeah,
there's a comment. Go ahead, Ray.
yeah. I've got a question for Desiree. I mean, being in the real estate space and understand that most homes in the GTA are two-story homes,
Yes.
and they aren't really designed for senior living. I mean, as you know, I'm in Florida, so Florida a very large senior. Some have a very large senior pop. So a lot of folk homes here are built for senior living.
Yes.
Most are bungalows with open plans, but a lot of the homes in the GTA, particularly if they're built in the 70s and 80s, and even the newer homes, like maybe they're building these townhomes now, are all built more for young families.
Hmm.
Right.
How does the conversation go between yourself and the senior individual or the senior married couple that it may make sense to move into a condominium
Yeah.
or something where your entire living space is on one floor and
Yes.
maneuverability and accessibility is a lot easier. Like, how does that conversation transpire? What kind of pushback would you get normally, given that a lot of us black folks don't like the whole quote unquote apartment living?
Yes, I'm actually going through that right now with an individual. So how the conversation starts is I like to give people facts. You want to stay at home, that's great. What does that look like? What's the cost? I'm also a certified aging in place specialist. And what that means is I go to a home, and similar to a home inspection, when you purchase a home, you get a report on the health of the home. I do a report on the accessibility of the home and the safety of the home, starting from outside going in. If I'm able to go into a home, like for example, with my mother-in-law, we came into the home. She had a den, so basically we were able to close up that space on the main floor of the den, make it into a bedroom, and then knock out the hallway closet, which backed onto the two-piece and made it into a three-piece with a shower. So it's knowing how to look at the design and then bring in the professionals who can actually do it structurally to do it. Otherwise, it's giving them the costs. This, if it's possible, because sometimes the doorways are too narrow. It's not going to happen if they have a walker. The hallways are too narrow, the stairway, and it's pointing that out to them. So, like I said, the stairway, for example, or even an elevator, a lift that they have in homes now, that could run you about, say, 30,000, right? Then we look at bringing home care if they need care. If they're looking at even a few times a week, we're still in the $3,000 to $5,000 mark for bringing in care. It's giving them the numbers. I think the older adults, they push back when we show them what the numbers look like realistically compared to moving. They tend to understand more, especially with someone who's still able to travel. Say they're not as, mobility, say mobility is not a thing, but they still want to travel and do things. It's then having the peace of mind of knowing, okay, living in a condo or a condo, say, you don't have to do the snow cleaning, the maintenance, all these different things. Living in a bungalow, it may be a good option, but you still have the maintenance. So what are the maintenance costs if the roof goes? There's things you just don't want to deal with as you get older. So it's really laying out the facts, laying out the numbers, and not just guessing facts. You really want to modify their home. It's bringing in the professionals who can do it once I can see the possibility of doing it as well for them.
All right, I want to jump in a few things, just if I have everyone's permission. Frequency Prevent Promotion says, no doubt about it, I'm amazed at the number of realtors, but I appreciate the different, quote, niches, unquote, within the real estate industry. Also, Harris Marketing is in the house. People should know who that is. Mr. Wayne Harris, what is up? Hope you and your family are fine and safe. I have a general question for the audience that I'm going to put in the chat. I'd like to see if they are open to responding. So I'm just going to put it here. And I'm also put a banner for it. And it talks about how much you in your own family have conversations about important topics. So I'm going to put this question up quick. Producer Matt, we just showed for a few seconds. And the question is, do you prefer having family meetings to talk about important topics, or do you like one-on-one conversations, and why? So would love to see if anyone wants to chat about that in the comment section. Have another conversation piece with Desiree. And you had mentioned a little bit about this earlier on, but the whole aspect about generational conversations about this subject. And I just got to put, okay, here's my question. How do generational differences in Black families affect clarity about aging and care expectations?
Well, let's start with, I think, coming from a Caribbean household with an aging grandmother back home in Trinidad, that's where I'm from. Back home, we had more of a community. We touched on this before, who assisted with the care. So we could be at home with our parents, but we also have the whole community, if we're not there, who also would be assisting with the care. I think things were slower back then too, so we were able to do more. Like my aunt retired, went back home, helped with the grandparents. In Canada, it's different. We don't have that community environment with neighbors who are looking out for each other per se. And we may live, even I gave an example earlier of someone who lives in Brampton with their parent in Scarborough. That's a whole day. That's a day trip. When you and nowadays in traffic, that's a whole day trip. It's not easy to just jump and run over there. So generational differences is, I think, our parents realizing as well. It's not that we don't care. It's that this is what we're able to do with the busyness and with the other things that get in the way of life. And with that, it's also them understanding that there are better options, although they may have a stigma towards it. I mean, right now, there aren't really any retirement residents that are catering solely to our community. Some communities do have that. You will see it. The newer ones, you will see more of a mix, a blend of cultures in there, but that's still something that they kind of shy away from. So, retirement living, I don't really see many of our people choosing to do that. Some do, some don't, but mostly it's when there's a crisis need, like say one spouse is having a severe decline, they need to go in, so the other spouse wants to be there along with them. And that's not talking about long-term care. That's a whole different ball game. But mainly the generational difference is just understanding that times have changed and the level of business has changed and people are just going. And it's understanding that although you may want me to do it, we can bring people in who can do it, which then in turn avoids resentment from the children who are helping their parents from going from task based to actually enjoying their time with their parents when they visit them, as opposed to only having a list of things to do and getting frustrated.
Ooh, right.
I have a
That's a
question.
good
I
answer,
have a
but
question for you. I have a question for you, Desiree. You mentioned the whole generational conversation. Well, I'm going
yes.
to take it one step further. So I grew up in a intergenerational home in the Caribbean. My grandparents had a very large home, and so that was part of my reality up when I left Guyana in
Hmm.
my 20s.
Hmm.
My kids here in Toronto grew up in an intergenerational home also.
Hmm.
Their grandmother lived with them since my second son, I think, was 8 months old. Now I know it's not a common phenomenon
Hmm.
among Black and Caribbean families in North America. It's a very common phenomenon in other cultures.
Hmm.
Have you ever approached the conversation of having adult children who live in the Greater Toronto area or the area you service to look at getting into an intergenerational home instead of having their parents live independently?
Yes.
There's a couple of pluses to that. I mean, one is the social interaction with your own family.
Hmm.
Will one delay a lot of the mental health issues that affect seniors?
Hmm.
And there's no safer place than being in a home with people who love you, with your kids and grandkids and possibly great grandkids.
Yep.
Is that a conversation? And how receptive are your clients to that conversation if you do bring it up?
It is a conversation. It's all about dynamics. Is there an only child? Is there more than one child? Because even if there's more than one child, what I found is there's always one that takes on the bulk of the load. And are they willing to take it on? Do the parents want to do this as well? Because a lot of it is independence that they're holding on to. And there may be dynamics where they're like, I'm not living with this person because she's always telling me what to do. She doesn't ask my opinion. So ideally, it's an ideal situation. Realistically, it's really looking at the family dynamics. Does one sibling, are they fighting about who can have who? I've seen a situation where they want the person is in the hospital, they need to go into care because they can't handle it. The person has a two-bedroom townhouse. The sister's insisting, I don't want mom to go into care. She needs to go with my brother, but the sister won't renovate her own house to bring the mother. So there's a lot of confusion and dynamics along with that. It seems simple. It is an ideal answer. Yes, intergenerationally, great. That would be great. Everyone's there. You can save on childcare with having the parents there if they're able. food, cooking, the whole conversation, being together. But I think it's such a deeper conversation when you get into family dynamics. And when the conversation comes up, sometimes you're sitting there and you see it come up, and you just have to sit back silently and watch, because it may not be the ideal situation. There are some cultures where that's what they do. They'll have grandma, great grandma, married couples, everybody's living in one household. I don't think especially with Caribbean cultures, I don't see us being as receptive of that as some other cultures that I've seen where they're
But
more.
you and I both lived that way in the Caribbean, Desiree. So what changed?
I think there's a lot of culture that's lost as we come into Canadian society. A lot of that is lost. Why? Location. I have someone who lives in Scarborough. She would love to move in with her kid. She doesn't want to live with her child who lives in Scarborough as well. The other one would love to buy a house, but she wants to go further out. The mom needs care right here in Scarborough that's in her community. And that's another important thing as well, is most older adults want to stay in the community where their church is, where their doctor is, where all these things they're familiar with is, and their children may not want to live in that same community. So how do we meet in the middle? So it's layers of bigger conversations that need to happen as well, especially when the person needs care. If you go north of Brampton, say in Caledon, and you need to get Ontario at home services, the government services for care, you're going to have a hell of a time, because those people are working, they're given an hour, but they're working back to back, overbooked, seeing people. And when you're all the way out there, I've had a client trying to get care. She had to come back into Streetsville to get the care coming in. So lots of different factors because of where we are and because of this. I mean, it's a big place with lots of places to live, and everyone has to agree.
I just want to jump in because I know Ryan has something to say, but I'll catch up on some comments real quick.
Mhm.
Harris Marketing says, good to see the godfather of mortgages. He doesn't do that anymore. You should have came in earlier on here with the Gala King.
Worldwide now.
Yeah, Andrew Stewart, great to see you here, who's part of the monthly conversations with Ray and Stefan. They're here. Harris Marketing says, one-on-one to learn about my question, one-on-one to learn, and then family meeting to get everyone on the same page. Harris Marketing says, I was told if you don't have a firstborn daughter, you have to hire one. The girl children are expected to take on the burden. This was true for my sister. I helped, but she was it. And Andrew says, loving the conversation and expert advice. Ryan?
Yeah, I was curious the pushback you talked about with the emotional attachment to the home and not wanting to change. Like, how can you push through that? Or especially like with my dad, he's like, listen, I'm not going into a long-term home. I worked so hard to obtain this home. And I know my mom's the same, but she hasn't said it as vehemently, I would say, as my dad. So now when there's that emotional attachment to the home, how do you typically navigate that where the facts kind of just go in one ear and out the other, you know?
Again, it's, when you get old, you're hanging on to two things: independence and legacy. Independence, as in doing things, you're not a child, you're being treated like a child sometimes, but you're not. And legacy, because you're looking back at what you've done, what you haven't done, and what will be remembered of me. So when you have someone that's pushing back, that's perfectly fine. You want to stay at home, great. But again, it comes back to, what are we going to do if the what if happens? It's better if you're part of that decision in planning than it happens and now you're unhappy with what you're being forced to do.
Right.
Not having a plan is not a plan. It's a plan for failure. So it's all about, again, I get it. You want to stay here. Let's make sure you're at home safely. Let's bring in the things that you need. But what happens if you fall, you have a heart attack, you get stricken with some other ailment? What happens then? And we want them to be able to be part of that conversation. I stress that. If the what happens, we have no guarantee what can happen. What happens then? Let's lay out a plan for now to keep you at home safe. And if you do decide to move, let's keep you home safe even without something happening. Let's keep you home safe so you don't need a higher level of care when you do move. Because that's also a thing. What you're in now and how you move, we want to keep you at that stage. We want to keep you moving, walking, active, because your body can seize up. If you don't use it, you lose it, right? So it's all about what happens if the what if happens. That's what we're planning for, beginning with the end in mind. So yes, stay at home. Let's modify the house. Let's have someone come and check in and make sure everything is intact as it should be. If you have the resources, it's also resources. Financial conversations with families. My own mother, I'm an only child. I do what I do. She's in Trinidad. I have no clue of what her situation looks like. And that's it's funny because I credit me coming into this field because of my mother, but I also left home at a very young age and we have a strained relationship. A dynamics, right? Only child, don't have a clue. She tells me you'll find out when I die. I'm like, really? Is that how it works?
Wow.
So it's dynamics. I'm living proof of it. It's and I try to she'll have a conversation about will you move back and take my house? And I'm like, Mom, it's a bigger conversation. What does your will look like? What does your planning look like? I can't get into these conversations with her. So it's really
So
and
does
again, for children, sometimes parents talk more. Sorry, Ray. Sometimes they talk more to a stranger than to their own children because there's also that dynamic as well of parent child telling me what to do compared to a professional coming in and having the conversation. Go ahead, Ray.
yeah. At what, in your experience now, at what point did that conversation for clarity really start? At what age, I should say, does it start with you and your clients?
Yeah.
And second part of the question is, if it starts over the age of 65, perhaps if we start that conversation with folks in their 50s,
Yes.
you may have a better end result. Because
Yes.
I think once you get to 50, I'm in my 60s now, the next 10 years goes by lightning fast.
Hmm.
And your life can change very, very quickly in those 10 years,
Hmm.
right? Um, so I think making the preparation during you're much younger when you don't even have to think seriously about retirement and downsizing and mobility issues and all of that fun stuff
Hmm.
might be a better solution, you know.
It is, which is why I've made it my mission within the industry that I'm in. I'm a realtor by trade, but within this industry, I think every industry needs people who understand the needs of seniors and are able to educate them because there's different touch points how we meet them. You may meet them in the mortgage or the investment world. I may meet them in the real estate world. Someone else may meet them in the insurance world. So it's everybody in these different worlds being able to have the same conversations, I think, so the message is clear and we're able to speak from a knowledgeable point to take them far enough. And I'm a a real estate professional. I can take you far enough in that conversation based on my knowledge to then introduce you to the correct professional to hand you over who can then continue the conversation and guide you to where you need to be. Ideally, yes, starting at this age is great. There's also something called usability, I think is the word for it. So it's when you know you have aging parents coming to your house, but they don't like to come because maybe they think the toilet seat's too low, or they can't go up and down the stairs, or they're trying to hold on to the walls and they need railings to walk. There are some nice aesthetically pleasing designs you can do for when your parents come over, they're comfortable. But here's the thing, as you age, it's already done. And now you can use it as well. So it's really changing the mindset of it all.
This is really, really, really good stuff. I just want to catch up on the conversations, and there's a lot of people watching this live. Push the comments. The comments are coming in. Let's go. Harris Marketing says the seniors don't like accepting that they are losing their independence. Ego and pride slow down solutions. He also says we brought in PSWs for meals, bathing, and medicine to start. Having a will, health mandate, and a power of attorney is mandatory in all countries with assets. Real Dango, who kicked off with all the comments at the beginning, says, yes, yes, yes. When you're 50, 55 comes very fast. And then 60 seems to come even faster, along with health issues.
Mm-hmm.
And then Harris Marketing also says, also, one person has 100% of the responsibility, yet all the children share equally as beneficiaries. This is unfair to the max.
Interesting. Right.
So
Yes.
you mentioned that your mom is in Trinidad. Did she retire in Trinidad or she never left Trinidad? And
She's retired. She was living in the States as a nurse after, and then she
Okay.
retired there.
So let's flip the script. Let's
Yeah.
assume that you've got the parent who lives in Toronto and the kids have got great lives living in the Caribbean, because there's a lot of that goes on also.
Yes.
Then you've got, or they live in the US or they live in the UK, because I mean, like my family's all over the place. I'm the only person who lived in Canada in my family. I had no siblings, mother, aunt, cousin, everybody lived in Toronto,
Mm.
right? So how does that conversation go when that adult or senior has no family in the legal jurisdiction in which they live, like how do you navigate that conversation? You got a child in the UK, you got a child back in Trinidad, child living in Texas, like how does it play out?
Ideally, your power of attorney should be someone in the same jurisdiction. If
Mhm.
they're not, it can work that way as well. But then you just have to make sure you have those documents in order as well. Or if there's a close family friend that you trust in the area, or if there's the spouse would be the power of attorney, depending on how that works both ways. But also bring in somebody else who is a family member in there, or you'll have that conversation. We have video conferencing, getting together to decide who should be the person if this happens, who's most familiar. I'd probably say the person in the States if they have someone in the States because it's North America. And I've dealt with a family who they're there, the person passed away here, and they acted as that. And then bringing in resources. Someone like me, the division of my real estate company is the concierge side, where it's not necessarily dealing with real estate, but everything else you need for a senior. So find someone, a contact you have in that jurisdiction in Canada, I'm in Ontario, who is able to help you navigate it from where you are and connect you with those resources and fill in the gaps on the things you're not able to do. You more so now need a concierge, someone who can, something like doing check-in calls. We do that with seniors. If you're part of our concierge, if they need a monthly check-in or just a phone call, someone to go by and see, has their fridge been cleaned out, these different things. I think you would have to find resources that are there from away, but still be aware of what is happening in that jurisdiction and educate yourself on it, or find a family member or a friend who's able to take on that role with you being the secondary person alongside them, but they being more active there for you.
Nice. Ryan.
Hey, I remember we talked on Friday about with our network and the business owners that are now dealing with taking care of their parents and taking care of their children. So I was curious, any advice around them getting clarity with their own situation and how to now navigate, because the additional work is like, it's scary for them because they already feel maxed out. And they're like, if it gets any worse than this, I know my business is going to fail or I'm going to fail my parents. So I'm curious the questions that they can start asking now that they seem super busy and don't really want additional work,
Yeah. So again, if there's siblings, if there's other family members, I think get together first and decide who is able to do what. And then in having the conversation with your parents, again, depending on their stage, it's really about a conversation. Let them decide. You're not deciding for them. You were having a discussion. What would you like to do? It's giving them back that choice, because a lot of times we come in and we try to tell them what to do. It's not about telling them what to do. It's about really looking at what are our resources. A lot of people don't know what available resources there are out here. A lot of people don't know that, if you're going to you want to bring in care, get access to the government services first, because it saves you on your HST for the private care, right? That's a little small thing, but HST can add up. So it's really about, we have all these systems in place and none of them are connected. It's about being able to know what are the resources that are available and how do you find them. I'm a good resource for that. I tell people if I can't find out myself, it's one phone call, one message away, I'll get an immediate answer, which will be able to help you and guide you towards that. So it's really about finding out what resources are available, because there are resources out here. There are resources out here.
Yeah.
There are resources out here. That's the simple answer to that, without going further into too many of the resources. But there are resources out here that are able to help you. There are people that are able to help you. And there are networks like what I'm forming of people that are able to help you as well.
Speaking of which, I just want to, if producer Matt can put up Desiree's contact information on the screen, that would be great. I've shared it to all the platforms of mine in the comments section. But if you want to get a hold of her, even if you're outside of Ontario, she can refer you to different places. But there's her contact information. So let's get back to the conversation. Actually, there's some comments we got to address. Real Dango says, right now, I'm looking at as many investments that I can and afford to help with my retirement. I wish I would have started this train of thinking 40 years ago, but it is what it is. And of course, Mr. Harris says, Real Django, holler at your boy. Well, Real Django's in the U.S., by the way. Harris Marketing. Okay. Harris Marketing, I'll give his question. Where is the Black church today in supporting their parishioners who have supported them for years? Ouch, question.
Uh-oh.
I can talk on that
Yes.
only because I was recently speaking with one of my vendors who works in the funeral industry, and she's Caribbean descent as well. And she actually said, Desiree, a lot more pastors are realizing that their parishioners come to them for everything. I'm going through a divorce. My kids are doing this. So they're having a lot more conversations, inviting funeral planners in and people like me in to have these conversations among their parishioners. I recently attended a conference for one of those, and it was a great turnout. The churches are realizing that they play a role in this. So I do see a lot of churches taking action, having seminars, and inviting professionals in to speak and to educate people as well, and becoming more familiar with the resources.
I agree with you, Desiree. I think the Black church in Toronto gets a lot of negative flack.
Mm-hmm.
We got to keep in mind many Black churches in Toronto are actually very small churches with very resources. You've got a lot of these what I call storefront church. I mean, you go down, Shepherd Avenue and Keele and Finch and those areas. But like you, I had a conversation with a pastor and his wife recently, and they wanted me to come in. They wanted to bring together a series of churches, probably 10 churches, and have me and the team come in and speak about what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
Here in the US, and you get a lot of that negative news on the upfront all the time in any situation, because negative news sells. Good stories don't sell.
Right.
It's not a good story. The church I attend here in Canada, in the US, is a pretty large Black church. And I mean, I was simply amazed at the amount of work they do. I'm talking from buying vehicles for people who have disabled adult children, retrofitting homes. I'm in a city where there's a very large military veteran population. So you got a lot of PTSD guys who spend time going back to the Vietnam War. And there's a lot of support here from churches in general, but particularly the Black church, given the dynamic. Because, where I am, I'm in Northeast Florida. It's more like living in the South than living in Florida. It's not Miami, it's not Orlando. It's a very different environment in reality. I think we got to be careful with our comments regarding the Black church, because I think we have to consider that most of them are very small, 50, 60 members sometimes. You need to have a decent size membership to really scale and grow and help anybody. If you can't help yourself, you can't help anybody else. But I've got a question for you. Given the way our migration model has worked over the last 50 years in Canada, or 60 years, where it was mostly women who came to Canada, mostly healthcare workers also. A lot of them didn't, even if they were married, they didn't come with their husband, and eventually those marriages fell apart. What percent of the seniors you deal with are single women? And if you deal with married couples, Black or Caribbean couples, which dynamic is easy to navigate when it comes to planning for their future and really determine how to retire comfortably and enjoy life?
That is a good question. I would say a lot of the seniors who I meet who are females alone, they're widowed.
Okay.
So usually when they're widowed or their spouse has gone into long-term care because of some ailment. So, or the couples I meet, it's usually when I meet them, one or the other is not as healthy as the other, and the other is acting on behalf of. What it comes to making decisions, I would say when I encounter, okay, let's talk about women alone. When I encounter a lot of women alone who say weren't married, then they're having a whole different conversation because they're looking for more affordable housing, which is something that I try my best to help them navigate. However, we know that the waiting list for those types of housings are 7 to 10 years. There's actually a model I've spoken to someone with, and I think would be a great model for anyone here who's an investor, of purchasing bungalows in the city and retrofitting them for senior housing. I actually worked with an organization before as well where they were looking at doing that, having homes for senior matchmaking. So even if you're a senior, say living in a house by yourself, you can rent out your rooms and then have care coming into one place, and it makes it more affordable. But numerically, I would say mostly women definitely is who I would deal with, or And then comes males who are having wives that are going through some sort of health crisis where they have to make the decisions. The resistance comes more when I'm dealing, I will be honest, with the females who are making the decisions. When it's the male, it's more of this is what we need to do. They're not holding on to all that stuff. It's an easier transition. Let's just get it done. It's nice and simple. I find that females more tend to hold on to the emotional part of the stuff that they have in the house and the whole transition of the meaning to it. They're the ones that are more in tears when they're leaving. It's a very interesting dynamic, and I just think that's our nature because we hold on to our
Leslie, you have a very nice voice. So as an elderly man would be more inclined to listen to you because your voice is soothing than an elderly woman who knows she's just an adversary. You know what I mean? So, I mean, come on, that.
But it's the truth. It's for me in my household, I'm a declutterer. I'm decluttering like every week, every month. There's stuff.
You got to purge, man. Constant
purge. You got to purge. That's our household, So, but I do see more, and you know what? It's okay. For me, a lot of times when people are holding on to stuff, there's a reason. So what is the story why you're holding on to this? One person I worked with, she was wanting to hold on to this couch that had like a piece of wood holding it up, and the chair was broken and the leg was broken. I'm like, why? And her kids were like, get rid of it. I'm like, hold on. Why are you keeping this? Well, she had gotten divorced, and that was the first thing she purchased when she got divorced. It was a sign of her independence. You know what? Valid. Keep it. So and some things they have a story and then they're willing to let it go. Mm-hmm. So it's the conversations, but definitely you made me think about that. I never really thought about it. It's mostly women in different stages.
Okay.
So perhaps you need to get a male partner, because Stefan on the other hand, he works with a lot of female clients, and as I said, he lived with his grandmother all his life.
Yes.
Right? So he has a much better response or receptive rate because he speaks to them the same he interacts with his grandmother.
Yes.
And they love him.
Yes.
Right? I think it has a lot to do with that dynamic. How you yeah.
And this is why my husband is he's been watching me for the last how many years doing this, and he's about 2 courses away from his license as well. Whoa. So he will be joining, and exactly for that same reason. It's all about the dynamics. We both go in, we feel the dynamics, and then hand over with the other person being there. But it's really the dynamics, male, female. With the men, I do better. I do, because they're listening. They're, it's interesting. One family, I had a gentleman. He's had quadruple bypass heart surgery. Was been told there's nothing much they can do for him, and he had a wife who's having schizophrenic tendencies in her dementia. And I remember going into his house, big 4,000 square foot house. And he calls me Desi. He's like, Desi, I don't know when we got all this stuff. Old school Caribbean man. He's like, I worked. She was well educated too and worked, but he worked, she bought, and there's a whole house full of stuff. And this poor man had to move within a month into a retirement residence because of the issue.
Wow.
And you know what? I came in, my method is I give them stickers, red, green, blue, yellow. Each color means something. What you're taking, what you're leaving, what you're donating, what you want to throw away. And he stuck down the whole house with stickers. We came in, we packed him up, we moved him out, we unpacked. And he was very simple. I even helped him pick out undergarments for his wife that he wanted to pack because he wasn't sure. That wasn't the thing that older generation does. It's a respect thing. They don't wonder why it's bra and panty drawer. I will say that. Let's be real. Yeah. They're not going to do all that. I was able to do all that for him. And that's the things that a lot of families, I help them one-on-one. They get to know me over the time and they want me. So I'll come in with assistance, but I'm guiding the whole thing. And I helped him through it. Now he's sitting down again, this is a person who was not having conversations with his wife. He's now settled into retirement. His wife is now getting up again, walking on her own, using the washroom on her own, and sitting down, having conversation with him again. That was one of the things he missed the most, was not being able to have conversations with her again. And he's doing it again. So for me, these are the things that warm my heart. Like I said, where we began in me meeting him, bringing in healthcare, bringing in a stair lift to the point where he was feeling worn out, couldn't do it no more, helping them move in a quick time frame, selling the home, and everybody seems to be getting better now. I'm not saying they are, but it seems like they are because things are coming back together. It could be being on one floor. There's a health benefit to that. Yeah. She's no longer calling out for him because she can see him where he is, as opposed to upstairs, downstairs, backyard, wherever.
All right. Good stuff.
Love that.
Yeah.
My apologies. I do have to bounce, but love the conversation. Looking forward to the next one. Always
Yeah.
good seeing you, Ray. We shall chat soon.
My pleasure, Ryan. Have a good one,
Take
man.
care, Ryan. Have a good day.
My
Good to
regards
see
to the
you.
family.
Want to thank Ryan for being here for the first hour, which has been fantastic. If you want to get in contact with Ray, if you can get in contact with Ray, his contact information is on the screen there. I've also put it in the comments section of all the platforms that you are watching this live or on the replay today. Let's put Desiree's contact information back up there. Fantastic.
Dr. White, I'm the easiest person to find, you know. I've got the same address for the last 20-something years, the same
I
email
know.
address, the same phone
I'm
numbers.
playing with you. I'm
None
playing.
has changed. I'm a creature of habit.
Yes.
My license plates are always being personalized. If I'm driving down the street, you recognize my car. So I mean, I'm not that hard to find. I eat the same place all the time.
100. I was playing with you. 100%. He is easy to find. He is easy to find. That is so true. All right, and thank you, Derek, for your vote. Also, this has been great. All right, if you want to get in hold of Ryan, website RyanO'NeillKnight.com, and I always say it's Knight with a KN, not an N. LinkedIn, Ryan O'Neill Knight. Instagram at Ryan.Knight99. His email address. Work with me at RyanO'NeillKnight.com. For myself, website the drvibeshow.com, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show. Instagram, The Dr. Vibe Show. X, drvibeshow. Email, I've already given you that address like 70,000 times. Let's go to Substack at drvibe.substack.com/subscribe, and Blue Sky, drvibe.bsky.social. And you can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Afro-Caribbean Business Network should be YouTube and Facebook. We will correct that. All right. That is it. As always, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions. Aim bigger, aim better, aim higher and wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. And if you're not making money, make history. Try to do both and make it better. Also, Desiree will be back the third Monday of next month talking about the R research. So lock it in and contact her. Even if you are not in Ontario, contact her. She has resources.
Can I give one closing statement really quick? I know you're doing your wrap up, but
no, go ahead.
Clarity is the foundation. Without it, even the most loving intentions can lead to frustration or neglect. With it, families can support aging with dignity, direction, and compassion.
You need to have that as your tagline. Thank you very much. God bless. Peace to well. Keep the faith and walk good. Thanks, producer Matt. Be well, everybody. Take care.
This whole thing of using your business with plant-based products, don't you think your life should reflect that too?
Juke him, Carolyn. Juke him. The family loves us here because they're saying Fitness IQ Can says put a wig on to get in.
Oh God. Oh my God.
Like the ideas are just coming fast and furious here this morning. What? Okay, look at this. Global Women Ambassador. Good morning. Look forward. Okay.